Hello and welcome back to another episode of One Kick from Glory. It's our first podcast of 2023 and we're wireless. And unlike the festival, we won't let you down. Don't worry about that. I'm joined, as always, by Matthew on my right. Craig's in the building.
Yeah.
And of course, we've got special guests, friend of the podcast, Markus here with us. We might as well say you're an obligatory member of the podcast. You know, you're not a guest anymore. But
Good to be here. Good to be here. Thanks.
We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Today's episode is going to be titled Growing Pains. There is a lot of growing pains we have to go through. No, I'm not talking about those pains you go through when you're growing as a person. No, instead I'm going to be talking about just general growing pains of throughout this season. And I wanted to start off with discussing the man that has been on many headlines for none of the right reasons this season so far, Mr. Darwin Nunez. Big money transfer striker coming into Liverpool. A lot of expectations placed on his shoulders because of the price tag. Not necessarily from Liverpool fans, but from rivals watching. I want to start with you, Markus. How do you think Nunez has adapted to Liverpool so far?
Yeah, that's a tricky question. I think it's complex because he looks a lot like another 6'4" striker that we spent a lot of money on. I think, that kind of clouds people's judgment to some extent. But
I never made that connection until you just said it. But yeah, he does. It's not at all, I mean, I did, yeah.
Yeah, but he does have the same amount of goals as Luis Suarez in 20 I think 25 games less for Liverpool in his first period, and he's doing everything else right. Like, he's a hassle, he's aggressive, he's fast, he wins the ball, he causes chaos in defenses. It's just that part where, a striker's supposed to put the ball in the net. He just can't do it. Like, so that's very true. Oh, no, actually he can if he's offside. Like, he'll score if he's offside. He's got that part down. But yeah, that's tricky. Look, I think he has everything it takes to be an incredible striker. He's got, he's strong, he's fast. He just really needs to learn to score. And if he can do that, then I think we've still got a very good potential striker on our hands here. But when he's hitting the corner flag and missing chances from 3 yards out without a goalkeeper, then he starts to look a lot like Timo Werner, and Matthew knows how that feels. So there you go.
I mean, I on that point, I'm going to bring you in, Matthew. I mean, do you think that, because obviously, with all strikers, we've all seen in our teams over the years that it takes time to adjust to the league.
Yeah.
Erling Haaland is the exception. He's a freak of nature.
Brought Leicester of football.
It doesn't make sense. So he's the outlier. We don't use him as a standard, but we know it usually takes most players about 6 months, sometimes this whole season, to kind of adapt. Looking at what Nunez has done so far, and as Markus rightly brought up, looking at Timo Werner and the unfortunate time. I mean, he can still come back to Chelsea because you haven't sold him; he's just on loan, right?
No, we sold him.
Okay. Well, that the horrible Werner chapter. Are there any parallels you see between them, or do you think that Nunez has shown enough to say that he will actually be a Premier League staple for years to come?
I think I'll trust Nunez a little bit more in front of goal, regardless of that one, that clear and honest sitter he missed the other day. I think that there is more goal scoring ability in him, and he's made a slightly quicker, albeit rocky start to the Premier League, and adapting to kind of how it works. You have to remember, he didn't start off with the best of ways, getting frustrated at Palace and getting
the red card, yeah.
Getting that red card. But since then, I think he's realised that just how different an animal it is from where he came from before. It's Benfica he came from.
Yeah.
So naturally, and plus he's in a system that's the Klopp system that benefits most players of this kind of ilk, where he's able to be kind of he's going to be that focal point. So everyone around is going to be feeding kind of towards him. So he's the main focus, and I think he kind of appreciates that. Where it was with Werner, he came off the back from the Bundesliga. I just don't really... And he did score at times, but A, they were patchy, and B, at best times, unfortunately, even with problems we had like with Lukaku, and sometimes when we have Havertz, we're not necessarily playing to all of these players' strengths. Granted, they could be doing a little bit more to try and put the ball in the back of the net. I mean, the players I just mentioned, Lukaku, Havertz, and Werner were not what you call cheap. You're expecting a little bit more from your players to try and get that net in there in the first place. You know, it's a poison position, though, as we all know. Unfortunately for us at Stamford Bridge, to fill in that focal role, we have not since Diego Costa have we had the striker there where it's going to strike the sheer amount of fear in our opposing defences. And even with the acquisition of Aubameyang, probably naive on my side, it still hasn't worked. I mean, if you look at the table, it definitely hasn't worked. So, but I think Nunez will, with lots of players, you know, a lot of the really, really good players, they do take that a little bit longer to adapt. But I do think that if he can get like maybe close to the top four, maybe even in the top four, gets a few more goals in competitions, still in the FA Cup, obviously, Champions League, and fighting for that top four in the Premier League. There's at least five or six more goals left in him, I reckon. Markus might see something different. I don't watch Liverpool on a regular basis, but it's one of those ones you get to give him a bit of a chance. Their team is in transition as well, after all.
Indeed. I'm going to come to you, Markus, in a second. But for you, Craig, I want to make one more player comparison with Darwin Nunez, because I think, you know, I'm glad you brought up, Markus, the goals comparison to Suarez at the same point in time in Liverpool's career. And I think it's important for fans to realise that with all players, it does take time, especially strikers. You need to work out what elements of your game will work best in this league. You need to figure out what are the stupid things that defenders in the Premier League do that you can exploit. A good example was the spin that Nketiah did a few weeks back against West Ham, spinning Tilo Kehrer, who's he's a international defender, spun him like he was a Sunday League defender and calmly finished it. But you learn these things about, you know, how to kind of adapt your trade as a striker. But on that note, looking at Nunez this early start, and again, I think he's been a victim of the World Cup break, in that he was having an amazing run prior to the World Cup. Well, not amazing, but he was having a good run of games. He was scoring goals, looked like he kind of worked the kinks out of his game. The World Cup's come. He wasn't played up front. He's played in the left for Uruguay. And it requires different demands for you as a striker. And he's not the same as Cavani, who did that in previous World Cup campaigns. So I think he suffered a lot in that system. But looking at what he's done so far, do you feel like he is going to end up being more of an Adebayor or a Marouane Chamakh?
Boy, I'll be honest with you. Like, I feel like he'll come good. Eventually, he'll come good because, as I said, it takes some players they hit the ground running straight away. Like you had like Eric Haaland, for example, straight away. You had players in the past like when Aubameyang came to the Premier League, he hit off straight away. Lacazette, for example, when he came, he struggled and.
He scored a goal in his debut, and that was about the highlight of his season. And the celebration, the trim. We love the trim.
That's about so some players it takes a while to get used to it. When Henry first came to the Premier League, he struggled. He didn't score goals.
8 games or 10 games to score his first.
And then when he started scoring, it started flowing. So I feel like maybe he's confident after the Uruguay had a bad World Cup, his confidence must be very low. Come back to Liverpool now. I personally thought they're not creating enough chances for him to score. If you look at Man City, for example, they have De Bruyne. De Bruyne is always looking for Haaland. They got the other guy, Mahrez. They got Foden. They got Grealish. They're always looking for Haaland to score. With Liverpool, I think Liverpool lack a good creative player. No disrespect to your midfield, but you lack a creative player that can create chances. Like someone like a Jude Bellingham, for example, who can create chances for players, or someone who can just create for them and they can score goals. I would say Nunez can score goals, and I feel that with that team they're kind of aging now as well, so they need reinforcements to help him. But I think he'll come good. Eventually come good.
So we're saying Adebayor, which is actually a compliment. That's not an insult. If anyone is confused and thinking that me saying, is he an Adebayor or a Chamakh, is that an insult? It's not an insult. Adebayor had a very rocky first season, offside a lot second season, but from the third season onwards, he actually was a solid Premier League striker. You know, got 30 goals and plus and whatever. Could have done more, but he had things going on at home that wasn't quite right. Love that you brought up the lack of creativity in Liverpool's team. Now, and I think it's easy for, again, fans, pundits, general media to kind of pick on, you know, the big money signing and the obvious things as the issue. But I do think that Liverpool have a big problem with their squad makeup this season. And it's really been highlighted by the indifferent start. Now, I know Jurgen Klopp has done a lot of, you know, saying stuff that sound like he's defending the owners. Maybe trying to deflect away from admitting the bigger problems. But for you, Markus, do you feel like the Nunez's kind of inconsistencies is kind of covering up from a bigger problem at Liverpool, like what Craig said, the lack of creativity and the lack of kind of attacking threat that you were synonymous for in seasons past?
Yeah, there's big problems at Liverpool right now. There's no doubt. Like, you know, you look at this team, and defensively, if Brentford can get a corner and it feels like they've got a penalty, you have a problem. Like, you know, and every time Brentford had a corner, we was like literally in panic, and that's worrying defensively. You know, obviously Van Dijk is not the player he was before his injury, and Konate, you know, has came in and had a few injuries and just hasn't really settled. Matip is always injured. And, you know, when he's fit, he's a very, very good player. But, you know, he's injured most of the time. Trent Alexander-Arnold, look, I'm kind of tired of the Trent Alexander-Arnold can't defend conversation. I think, you know, we all know what he offers to Liverpool going forward. We all know what you're getting with Trent Alexander-Arnold. You're not playing him to, you know, be Cafu. Like, you know, he's an attacking fullback who is going to get assists, and, you know, who you hope the rest of the team can do a job to be able to defend. So, you know, Fabinho's been missing, and I think he's key in that Liverpool midfield to be able to break up the play, win the ball back. But then it's obvious there's nothing left other than Fabinho. You know, Henderson's aging, Milner's aging. Henderson's great, but he needs some legs alongside him. Look at Henderson at the World Cup alongside Bellingham. Looks so much better as a footballer. Like, you know, but you know, Thiago is not the same player he used to be. He can't dictate a midfield anymore, and again, spends most of the time lied on the medical bench. You know, Curtis Jones made his 50th game, played his 50th game, Premier League game for Liverpool last night off the bench. If Curtis Jones has played 50 games for Liverpool, there's a problem. You know, Harvey Elliott is obviously got bounds of talent and potential, but should not be playing week in, week out at 19 years old. They're going to kill him. You know, like, I think this goes on to talk about all the problems that are at Liverpool, but it's disjointed is the ultimate problem. The midfield's not strong enough, which puts pressure on the defense, which means we don't get enough moving forward into the likes of Nunez. Gakpo is a good signing. It's exciting. It's interesting. It hopefully will bring things together. But Jota's out. Diaz is out. You know, Salah is aging. Obviously, Mane's left. People will ask them questions. There's a lot of things going on. You know, just if you kind of give you the general overview there, that this team is really at the moment questionable as to whether or not they're going to be good enough for top four.
You know, it's interesting when you were listing off those players. Obviously, the notable one you didn't mention was Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. He hit 100 Premier League appearances at Liverpool in 5 years the other day, which, you know, shocking numbers, shocking. And also kind of endemic of the issue of not being available to play. But I think, you know, when I'm thinking about this lack of creativity, thinking about a player who maybe, he's not been rumored to he's not been linked to your team in any way, shape or form, but I do think he could offer that little star factor. Definitely wants out of his club because his club are going nowhere fast. No, he's not a Tottenham player. James Maddison. What would you think about bringing in Maddison and potentially trying him as an 8? And if that doesn't work, switching to like a 4-2-3-1 and having him in as a 10. And then that way you've got a player that can just supply the ball from the middle zone in the pitch to your 3 dynamic attacking forwards.
Well, I don't dislike James Maddison. I'm not sure his attitude fits the kind of Liverpool mentality, but, you know, nonetheless, like, you know, people surprise you. He's obviously talented. Could he make the step up? Yeah, probably. He would cost 50, 60 million, and I'm not sure that I would want to pay that type of money for James Maddison. However, speaking of that kind of, you know, club going nowhere player, Yuri Tillsman, his contract's up in the summer, and
True.
You know, that could be a shrewd piece of business that kind of fits the Liverpool model. You know, one thing I won't have, like, you know, is people say that Liverpool don't spend money because, you know, 80 million on Van Dijk, 70 million on Alisson, 60 million on Nunez. That's more than Man City spent on Haaland, by the way. Like, so when you
officially, because we know unofficially Haaland cost a lot more.
Sure. Yeah, we'll plead the fifth on that one and stick with what we know, right? 65 million minimum release plus. But yeah, I think Tillsman could be good business. I'm starting to lose hope that Bellingham's going to happen. I think he's probably going to end up at Madrid because it's just a lot of money for Liverpool to spend, and I don't see them doing it. But I think Liverpool need 3 new midfielders. And I take Maddison and someone. I take Tillsman and someone. But we really need someone this January if we want to finish top 4. And then I think we need probably 2 more midfielders in the summer.
All right. I think that's interesting. We'll see what happens. I do think there's obviously talk about Matthias Nunez at Wolves, who it's really weird because the more I read into that speculation, it's been worded as if you were always going to buy him and the Wolves transfer was just an acclimatization deal, which seems very weird, but it's very Mendes. So I wouldn't put it past him. There's also some talk about Ronaldo, Cristiano Ronaldo as well. We're going to come to that at the very end of the podcast. But that's quite an interesting thing. Moving from one team that's going through a bit of a rough patch to another team who we all laugh at when they go through a rough patch. And I will sing their theme song for those of you who don't know what it is. Tottenham get battered everywhere they go, even when they're at home. Can we say now that the honeymoon period is over between them and Antonio Conte, your great former manager, who has just shown time and time again that without the checkbook, there's not much he can do?
We've been here before, haven't we? I swear we did a show on this last year.
We did.
That's the funny thing that's coming up. This is almost like deja vu. It's like full circle coming around back to this exact point. I don't know whether it's necessarily a mark on him or if it's just a mark on Spurs. I want to say it's a mark on Spurs and that they're just absolutely hopeless and can't be helped because they've gone through Mourinho, they've gone through Pochettino, they've gone through now they had Conte, they had that geezer before. Who was that geezer before? I can't remember his name.
Espirito Santos.
They had him who did wonders with Wolves. They are just I don't know. I don't know whether just there's a hopeless or that culture just there of always being the flaming bridesmaid all the time or being Chloe to Arsenal's Kim. I don't understand this team, and I thought my team was baffling, and it hurts that this team is higher up the table than mine. That really hurts. At least with us, you can see what kind of culture is there. With these guys here, they struggle no matter what. I mean, they've come back. Kane's come back from a letdown of a tournament. Son's come back from letdown of a tournament. I mean, Perisic can come back from a somewhat successful getting to the semi-finals.
Well, they won third place.
They won third place. So. I mean, hell, Lloris was the runner-up. Lloris was runner-up. I mean,
Romero was the World Cup winner.
World Cup, yeah.
Yeah, Romero was. I think he got the World Cup winner on their team. I don't know whether the whole Arsenal thing plays on them more than it does. I don't know. Maybe should Kane have left when he had the chance? Should he? Is him being there holding them back more than they think? Because now they've tied him down. He wants to have a legacy of winning trophies, competing at possibly the highest level all of the time. They barely got out of their group of the Champions League for one. Is that time for him gone? Does he maybe have one more stint in him to get to another club to achieve what he really, really wants? Is it more than just Conte? I don't know. It's a struggle, really, because I think it's more of a case of, despite the fact we cuss them, I think the problems between Chelsea and them are actually quite similar. I don't think it's the man at the top. I think it's the personnel that they have, because the personnel has barely changed from how many of the managers they've had. Kane's still there, Son's still there. Who else was still there? They've
got the Kulusevski.
Lloris at the back.
Lloris is still there,
way through.
and they seem saying he's been suspect for years, but gets to World Cup final back to back in the last 4 years. Like, which one is it?
Kind of in spite of him, not because of him.
I don't know. This team is. I've got no real. I've got no real play in it because this team is just absolutely baffling, and it's like, I think now if it's twice in a row, if we're coming back around saying "Woe Conte, woe" all over again, something needs to be done. Something. There's more of a justification for him going than Potter going right now.
That is a really good point.
Yeah.
That's
And
what
I
I'm
like
saying.
that the rumours I'm hearing about Chelsea is that the Todd Boehly and the executive team accept that this is a project, it's a process that's going to take time. And I think they're prioritising youth. We're going to talk about that in a bit. Let's hold on that thought. You mentioned Kane and Son and whether they should consider their futures. For you, Craig, do you think that Harry Kane should be dragging his brother into his office and telling him, mate, get me out now? Like, as in January, get me out and get him to a club.
Well, he made the decision to sign a new contract. Didn't hold a gun to his head and told him to sign a new contract. He decided to sign a new contract. He should have looked at it and said, I've been at Tottenham all my life. We haven't won any major trophies. We've been to finals.
Yeah,
but we haven't won.
Keep cooking.
And I'm gonna be 30. He's gonna be 30 this year. How much more longer can he be carrying the team? Because technically, he's carrying the team. Tottenham has spent a lot of money on players, average players at best. Well, good players, when it comes to Tottenham, they become average players. Let's be real.
Keep cooking.
All right. Now, Son is struggling this season. Not the same Son of last season, banging in loads of goals. Maybe he's looking, thinking, I'm going to leave. I want to leave now. I'm going to leave in the summer. I don't think he's going to leave in the January transfer. They're going to sell him in January. But Tottenham could have got a big money for Harry Kane last summer. When Man City were looking for him, they could have got big money for him, and they could have reinvested into the squad. They decided to keep him
and saved us all a problem.
Yeah. So now, if they're looking to sell him now, he's going to be 30 this year. They're going to get a lot of money for him. How much they can demand? Maybe what? 70, 80 million, 75 million, maybe 60, 75 million for him now.
Depends on where he goes.
Where he goes. If he goes abroad, they can. Yeah.
So on that note, which club do you think would be a good move for him to go to?
Man United
There
need a
isn't
striker.
one.
Chelsea need
There
a
isn't
striker,
one.
but Chelsea. But look,
you're right.
Chelsea and Spurs, they don't do transfers to each other, do
You
they?
don't do business.
By a minute, we're looking at him, saying they might go for him in the summer. That would maybe be a good move for him to go to Germany.
But what
He's
do you
guaranteed Champions League. He'll score
Yeah.
goals. He's got a good team around him.
He's not doing it. He won't leave because he wants the Premier League goals, so he's not going to leave. Like, so the move was Man City, Man United possibly, but if they finish top four, maybe. But outside of that, like the move's gone. Man City was the move.
I'm gonna throw a curveball, random one to you, Marcus, then to you, Craig, and then same question.
Go on, then.
Because I was listening to a Twitter space about 3 weeks ago, and they were talking about Harry Kane. It's kind of why I wanted to see what everyone thought tonight. What would you think? And it's obviously I don't know how it would work because it couldn't work as a straight transfer because it's like improbable. But what would you see Kane at Arsenal as a viable thing in the future? Start with Marcus.
Nope, not a chance.
Yeah,
Not a chance. Like, you know, that move, you know, Tottenham fans are still literally boiling over the move of Sol Campbell. Like, right now, like every single one of them like is literally still looking to find Sol Campbell and kill him, like, because of that move. Like, not a chance Kane makes that move.
it would be sweet though if he did and scored against him in North London Derby, and then in his attempt to not celebrate, accidentally celebrates because he falls over. They thought he was mocking them. Matthew, what do you think?
You know what? My original answer is going to be no, and it's not going to happen. But you know what? Considering where you are right now, if he wants that Premier League, if he wants the closest shot he's going to have in his career of that Premier League right now, it's been done before. That's
Oh, you mean to move in January to Arsenal?
if he wants that Premier League. But I got another one. I got another place where I think he could go if he wants to go on the ascendancy and have a better chance of achieving right now because Tottenham seems to be, well, I don't know. It's just
You don't go there to win.
You don't go there to win. There's a direction. You just don't see what the direction is right now. But I could see him going to Newcastle. I could see him going. They're going places. They know where they're going. They're very firmly in the top four. They got a very good grip on it. There seems to be a sensible culture out there. They're not overspending. And if he wants to remain in that Premier League bubble, and if there's any club that's going to pay that money, if those owners are wanting to get that money, having the England captain in their team, playing for the good old YA of Newcastle, it's not an out of reach transfer for them.
That's a great shout. Really good shout.
That is a really, really good shout. And I'd probably say that's the best shout of the lot. I mean, Man United would have, I think that's another option. But again, that does come down to what Ten Hag wants for his squad makeup. I don't back Martial. I don't rate Martial. I think Martial FC is a fraud. And I think that all of you fans that love that kid up, he just doesn't deliver. So I don't think that's a viable long-term strategy for a striker. Marcus Rashford is a very interesting one because he keeps scoring. And, it's really interesting that now that he's got an actual coach that can coach him, his career's kind of developed in the right way again. When he had Van Gaal, when he had his breakout season, developed so much. Unfortunately, Mourinho didn't really get anything out of him, much as the best out of him. Oli was just Vibes FC, so, development was just not going to happen there. But now he's got an actual coach, so he looks like he's back, he's sharp, he's doing all the right things. Everything he's doing on the pitch just makes sense as a wide forward / striker. So we'll see about that one. But yeah, Kane could be an interesting shout, and we'll see what he does come end of the season. Like you said, Marcus, the Premier League record is clearly his big focus.
You did, however, miss Marcus Rashford's biggest coach of the last few years, which is Obama.
Who?
Barack Obama.
Oh, former President Barack Obama. Oh, yeah. Well, look, Keir Starmer, you're not going to watch this, but the people want you to know that if the Tories are going to get out, learn from Marcus and do the right thing. Both Rashford and Marshall. Anyway, so moving on from that useless other party that we unfortunately have to deal with. Do you think Conte's done then at Spurs? Do you think he can fix it? Or do you feel like they'll just meander on, get sixth, and they'll keep him?
If he does go, who comes in? Because I think with someone of his caliber who knows how to win, who's pretty much won everywhere he's gone to, unless he wants to go back to Italy and manage them because they're in a bit of a shambles right now. I honestly don't think if he were to go, they're probably thinking, if he were to go, who do we get? I'm seeing things about Pochettino coming back. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I think the tide is turning now to a more sustainable form of manager. Like, look at us. We could have easily gone for someone like Zidane that suits more of what we've had in the past. But if we want to go ahead and have a bit of a change and if our owner's going to leave, we've had that culture of always winning, and we've got someone new in who might have a slightly different view, that now has got to suit along with the manager that he has, and that means going through that hard and difficult period. And you went through it, Liverpool went through it, Man United went through it. Everyone has their turn. Unfortunately for Tottenham, it just seems to be all the time.
On the note of Man United, I'm not happy that your banter era lasted so short. We were expecting 2 to 3 seasons max, right? How have you gotten out of it in months? It's not fair. This is not right. We've all had to struggle. You guys less so. We, Liverpool Arsenal fans, we have struggled. And you lot, let's just ditch Oli. We've got and Ten Hag in, job done.
And get Ronaldo.
Sorted. Oh yeah, we're bringing Rangnick. That's our banter era. Let's get 8 years in one season out of us. Flush down the toilet. Away you go. We had to struggle. We went through stress.
Oh my God.
Then we had good evening. But shout out to Emery. You're doing a good job. You're doing the Lord's work.
He did.
Amen.
He did.
Pochettino, do you think he would go back? Would you take him back? I can't say would you take him back. Obviously, you don't really care. Spurs could have Frank Lampard for all we care. You know what I mean? But do you think Poch at Spurs, would that be a sensible move for him? And do you think he would finally bring them a trophy? Because he ain't won one in his career. Although he did win the Cup at PSG, which...
Won the league at PSG last season, didn't he?
Yeah, but that's a gimme, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, they were going backwards. They got it back, to be honest.
Really? Compared to what because right now they're playing haramball. Like it's just disgusting to watch. They shouldn't be where they are. Okay, I'll say this before you finish, right? What Tottenham are doing on the pitch, right? Their position defies the actual football. They shouldn't be as high as they are. They're supernovas. Kane, Son, and Kulusevski. I'll give Bentancur his props, and Højbjerg, I don't rate him, but he does well. These guys are covering up for all of their ills. So how do you think it could play out if he came back?
I think he could get the best out of that squad. He'll give players like Jed Spencer minutes. Like, he got Jed Spencer in the summer, hardly played him, and he was very good in the Championship last season for Nottingham Forest, and he did well. I think Pochettino is good with young players. The difference in him and Conte doesn't really trust young players to give them a chance. He'd rather get experienced old veterans and give them an opportunity, like Perisic, for example. So Maybe Pochettino could maybe give him a 1 or 2 year contract and say just try and do something for the season, so get us top 4, and then next season we'll try and. I honestly don't think Tottenham are going to win a trophy this season. I might be wrong, but I don't think they're going to win anything again this season.
What trophy could they win? FA Cup?
They can't win Carabao. I think they're on the out. Most London teams are.
So it should be FA Cup then.
FA Cup.
That could be Newcastle's to try for.
Yeah,
personally.
They're in the Champions League, but I don't think they'll go far in the Champions.
But also, if Tottenham win the FA Cup, who cares? Really, come on. Like even Tottenham fans are going to be like, right, we won the FA Cup. It was an eye day out, right? Like,
I would care.
At the end of the day, like when you hire a manager like Antonio Conte, you don't hire him to win the FA Cup.
That is a very good point.
That's true.
You hire him to win the Champions League or Premier League title. That's what you hire him for.
Yes. Absolutely.
And the thing is that like the other teams are stronger than Tottenham right now, and I feel like if Liverpool can get their act together, you could go above them.
When, not if, when. Sort it out, yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I don't think Liverpool are gonna struggle. You know, I think they'll push up the table. Because they're a team, they can just go on a mad run.
You guys have been really poor this season, though. Like, there's poor, there's out of form, there's poor, and there's Liverpool. Like, it doesn't, like, you're just so inconsistent. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, but do you remember that season when Van Dijk got injured and Liverpool was struggling to get top 4? Yeah, but and Alisson scored that header against West Brom, and that changed the whole season around, and they got top 4 last game of the season.
True.
So they can definitely do it. They got the credentials to do it.
That's a good point.
So I wouldn't put past Liverpool. I wouldn't put it past them to get top 4.
Yeah, the thing about this Liverpool team is the squad is full of people who know how to win, and just because you go through bad form, these players have won every trophy possible to them. There's not many players at Tottenham that can say that. So it's hard for someone that's won something like Lloris is a World Cup winner, but you won the World Cup with Mbappe. And all of these amazing, incredibly talented players. And now you're coming back to Tottenham who have sprinkles, right? And them sprinkles aren't even on that good form, right? So, Son, based on actual form, wouldn't even be worth a move to a lower league Premier League club based on his form this season. Like, he's been that bad. But these Liverpool players, all of them collectively, 95% of them have won the Premier League, have been to 3 Champions League finals in the last 5 years. Like, they know how to win. They know how to go far. They know how to dig deep. And yes, there's big problems at the moment, but if you figure them out and things start to click again, then these guys know how to win 10 games in a row, no problem. And that's why, you look back to even last season, we finished second. In January, we was 15 points behind Man City, who was top. We finished 1 point behind them. We didn't beat one of the top 6, right? That's even last season.
Even the last game of the season when you lost that last game, it could have gone either way. If Aston Villa know how to defend,
that could have been yours.
Then Liverpool would have had the title. Let's be real. If Aston Villa knew how to defend, they would have won the title. Simple as that.
They had one job. One job. They were winning. Just don't
lose.
Why did they make those changes? That's why he got fired. I'm not even be upset anymore. He got fired. Why make those changes? You take off your creative outlets and you bring on a defensive midfielder who does what? Nothing. Gives the ball away. Fouls.
It's true though. It's true.
To be fair, he brought on Gundogan. As soon as Gundogan came on, you knew that's it.
Game over.
But when he brought on the holding midfielder, man, mark Gundogan out the game. No, okay, Gundogan. Oh yeah, just keep run off me. That's fine. Gundogan's there. Yeah, I'm not worried. Don't worry, he won't do anything. Oh, he scored. Oh, was he my man? Oh, my bad.
Did he score 2 goals in that game?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly that. Go to.
Third man runs some midfield. We could telegraph the goals.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
He used to Guardiola what Fellaini was to Mourinho. You don't know what you're gonna get.
That goes to man,
something.
He's gonna score out anything.
Yeah.
Speaking of Liverpool coming together, do you think now with us being in January, is there a player that you could see, Marcus, as someone that you think this one guy we could bring in and it would just give the club a lift to help kickstart this resurgence?
I'm quite excited by Cody Gakpo. I'm not gonna lie. I think Liverpool have got a good player there. He looked class in the World Cup and has got more goals and assists than Erling Haaland this season. Granted, playing in the Eredivisie, but he is on fire, and if he can come in with that form and kind of do what Luis Diaz did last January, then we might have already got that player. Obviously, I think we need a midfielder, and that would be important. But I'm not that worried because we're not a million miles off Man United. We still have these teams to play. We're not even technically halfway through the season. Maybe just about. There's still quite a chunk of the season left to go, based on this World Cup. So, yeah, I think there's enough problems that if we do finish outside the top four, you'll come back to this moment and you'll say, you said all of them problems and you listed off all them problems. That's why you didn't finish top four. But I think we all know Liverpool well enough that if we go on a run and win 10 games and are back in the top four, then people will say, well, that's Liverpool. That's what winners do. That's what these players do. And, you should have expected that from Liverpool. So
that is a very, very good point.
And, but even if Liverpool don't even get top four, they could go win the Champions League.
Still in it.
Then it's still back in the Champions League next season. So
Still in it.
Yeah, I'll be honest. It's going to Paris, guys. Like, I don't know how to put it to you. Just can tell you that now. It's going to Paris.
Could be. Finally.
Could be Messi.
Whatever that journalist's mum, that bracelet he gave to Messi a couple of years ago. He basically, there was a game that Messi played for Argentina. This journalist said his mum made this bracelet for Messi. He puts it on his left leg underneath his sock. Yeah, she gave it to him, and following him getting that bracelet, Argentina won Copa America. Now they've won the World Cup. Same. I don't know what prayers she did,
but it's working.
Hey,
working a charm.
Yeah, that's where it's gonna go. And if it doesn't go there, then yeah, you guys can have it. But that's kind of personal preference. We're gonna end on the two teams that played out a very, I can't even say feisty. It kind of reminded me of good old days of good old boring Stoke. There was a 0-0 between Arsenal and Newcastle at the Emirates Stadium. There was a lot of interesting refereeing decisions. I feel like the referee was on the Ivan Toney scale of how many cards can they give out and not get caught for match fixing. Because like half those yellow cards were just ridiculous. And the ones he didn't give were even worse. How did you feel about the game, Craig? Because I have a lot I could say, but I want to start, ease us into it.
I feel like the first 10, 15 minutes we actually battered them. We could have scored 5 or 6 goals. We're not clinical in front of goal. If we scored the first goal in the first couple of minutes of the game, we would have won that game, hands down. And in the second half, we were chasing the game. Well, they got into the game second half, and then we tried everything in the second half to score the winner, and then we should have had a penalty. Not the one that hit the hand. That was
the shirt.
The shirt pull should have been a penalty. I just thought that we looked very tired yesterday, and I thought that Arteta didn't use his bench at all. Like, he had Vieira, he spent a lot, 34 million on Vieira. He had Marquinhos, the young Brazilian kid. So it was very difficult to see who could he have brought on yesterday. I thought if he could have made a change. I know we got a lot of injuries. Smith Rowe's come up from injury. Jesus is out for a while.
Off the World Cup.
Yeah, so we don't.
But you know what? With the substitutions things, Arteta did the same thing last season. Same thing in January he did. We had a game, we were struggling for goals, and he didn't make a sub. And I don't think he's doing it. It's deliberate. He's sending a message to the board to say, I don't have enough here.
Yeah.
Because he could have brought on, and I was even thinking in my head, okay, let's take off Xhaka, let's bring on, I think I even said to you,
bring on Vieira.
Bring on Vieira. Let's do different emphasis. I didn't think Marquinhos could and shouldn't come on. I don't think he's got enough there. I wanted Tierney on the left because I felt like the overlaps could destabilize them. You were even saying, take off Xhaka, bring on Tierney, Zinchenko inside to midfield and just start him there. There's little things he could have done. He chose none of that. Now, that is a testament to how well we've been as a team and how consistent we've played this season. And to be honest with you, it's not a bad draw. Games like that, when the ref is definitely not on your side and VAR are in the clouds, you just don't lose. And at Liverpool, you've had tough games like that in the past where you just know it's not your day and you just get out of there with the point and you build on it and stuff. For you, Matthew, looking at that match, do you feel like Newcastle are the real deal, or do you think the hype is maybe they're a bit overrated?
Well, I think they've only lost one game so far this year. So they must be doing something right. Do I think they're going to go ahead and do a massive storm and go on and challenge you for the league? Absolutely not. But do I think they're going to be good for top 4? I'm going to say yes. I mean, the only other teams that could really push for them to be getting that top 4 is indeed someone like Liverpool. Then once they kick their act together.
And you guys, when you wake up, no pressure.
No.
Wow.
Not the fact that we won't do it. We don't deserve it.
Damn.
We don't deserve it. I'm gonna be real.
Yeah, but you're Chelsea. Who cares?
Oh, well, I'm going.
You didn't deserve it. You don't deserve any of your Champions Leagues, but here we are.
Why?
That's a good one.
Here we are.
Hey man, I'll be happy with the 2 that I got. We didn't deserve it, but we got 2 of them. But no, I think before I get back to yours, I mean, for us, I think it's gonna be a case of now Chelsea fans, I love you. We're down for the blue, keep the blue flag and anything like that. This is what it's going to be for the time being. Forget anything else that we've been going through, fighting for Europe for, fighting on that high level right now. It ain't going to happen. Potter, it sounds weird, but no, it is not weird. We need to keep this guy because this is our future now. This is what we're working with. It's the players, okay? Them players. I don't see no Potter out nonsense.
Okay, quickly on that point.
Yeah.
Who needs to move on from Chelsea? Which players?
Who needs to be on?
Who needs to move on?
Who needs to move on? I hate to say it, Dave needs to move on. Aspie needs to move on. He can't do it. If he's not going to play Ziyech, he needs to move. If he's not going to play him, even after the good tournament he had, he needs to go. If Havertz doesn't get his act together and starts, bucking up his ideas and does not realise that his position is guaranteed, if he's not going to be part of Potter's plan, he can go. Aubameyang can go. He's not doing anything. Lukaku can go. God, I want him back. This is going to be very good. It's going to be a sad one. He's not even barely featured this year. I think his future lies somewhere else. Plus, I think we need to kind of move on from him just a little bit. He's not the player he once used to be. I think we've got the best out of him, the best that we can out of him after Premier Leagues and Champions Leagues and everything. So I think he needs to go. There just needs to be if he wants to truly take charge, he needs to get in the players that he truly wants. I know there's also players there that need to be benched and reminded that they're not going to be guaranteed starters.
Mason Mount,
Havertz, and Mendy. I mean,
he doesn't play anymore. Though,
but 2 years ago, Kepa was a joke. Now he's one of our best players, along with Thiago Silva, which is a problem because you got a guy we vilified and a 30-year-old free transfer defender as our best players. As good as they have been, that's a problem. And we're only adding in more and more and more. The only kind of teams that spend this kind of money at this point of the season to get them back of the season are relegation fodder.
I've got to say this before Craig jumps in. Yeah, the fact that have you bought Badiashile or is it still being?
I think the last time I looked was earlier today. I was at work. Was the medical, but it's more the
fact that you're paying £60 million to Badiashile when you had Tomori at home. To me, that is just beyond disgraceful, and it's endemic of everything that's wrong with Chelsea and has been wrong with Chelsea over the Abramovich era.
I love Tomori, and I regret ever getting rid of him. We won the Serie A.
Should never have been let go,
and he didn't get a fold chance in the England defence in the fold. That's really sad as well. But yeah, I just think if we need, before I go back to Arsenal thing, there needs to be more. Everyone needs to be moving in the same direction. It's working for you. It can work for us.
I agree.
It can work. Everyone needs to get behind and realize the fact that this is going to be the era of the struggle. We're not on the level of you guys or any. We're not even the level of Newcastle. We're not even the level of them. They're so much better than us because everyone's singing from the same book. Let's just get what we can from this season. We're still in the Champions League. We've still got the FA Cup. Next year's got to be the proper year where he does what he needs to do and get in his style. Because we've all seen it. When he's able to get his style, it works really well. And with a bigger club, bigger pool like Chelsea, I think we'll be all right. But I just think we need to be a little bit more trusting, which is something that we're not really good at. But going back to you guys, saying with the Newcastle thing, they are going to be there in the fold for going into it. They're certainly there for European football. They've done, they've certainly made a massive turnaround from the Mike Ashley era. I think they're back where they want to be with the club. The clubs, they're happier. They're happy going there every weekend, seeing their team play. There seems to be a change of a culture. I mean, there was only about 25 years ago. That's what they were before. Could the glory days be coming back? I mean, never won the Premier League, but they were always there. I don't think trophies were ever really their thing. They wanted to play good football with a bunch of players who want to play for that badge and give the fans something week in, week out, just give them something to cheer for, So I don't think they're, at the missed moment in time, and they've only lost one game, I don't think they're hype. I think they're good for where they are. I think they've worked really hard to doing what they're doing. Also with the VAR as well. I mean, it's a shame we didn't learn from like the World Cup. It always seems to be like the bigger tournaments that show how VAR can and should work.
Well, that's also Premier League stubbornness because they won't change anything until they have their next big meeting. Whilst they could have had multiple meetings during this whole World Cup.
But then we're gonna have this problem. It's always gonna be. I think we're one of a few leagues in the world that still has this reluctancy to truly trust VAR. That can work and it has worked, but it's always gonna be down the case of the people that are running it. So like we said before. VAR can work. It just it's that human element, that fleshy element that needs to realise it's only going to work best if you're going to be truly fair with it. And like I said, the World Cup, for the most part, it works. So
and there's no consistency right now from week to week and game to game. Any last thoughts, Craig?
I was going to say to the players that Matthew talks about getting rid of at Chelsea, he spent altogether was like 350 to 400 million of talent on players.
It's light change for them though. That's pocket money.
We're already off 100 million for the guy from Argentina. We're offering 100 million.
They're offering to overpay. See, this is the other thing. This will be the last point. This is the other thing that Chelsea understand. You're offering to pay above someone's release clause.
Don't look at me.
Do you not understand? Does Todd Boy not understand how release clauses work?
All
you got to do is pay that amount, and it's yours. You don't have to pay above.
But I feel like I don't understand how Chelsea not investigate on the financial fair play. How can you spend all that? Look how much money you spent in the summer. How much money do you sell? How much millions do you make of like selling players? You spent over three. How much?
But look how many sponsors Chelsea have. Have you seen Chelsea's training? This is what is fascinating, right? Have you seen Chelsea's training material?
Yeah.
Do you see how many names are on it?
Yeah.
Chelsea are one of the few Premier League clubs that actually anything that they could put a price on, they put a price on. Trivago is one of their main sponsors.
Free.
They have all these sponsors. Their training ground kit is like a Brazilian football league kit. And if you don't know, Brazilian league teams, they have multiple sponsors across their kits. It's like wherever there's a space, they'll put a brand. Chelsea do that with their training kit. So they get it. They're fine.
Put it anyway.
They get the system. Is it right? No.
But my question is, how much involvement is Potter having in those? Is that why he's there? He's not going to kick up much of a storm, because I guarantee with a different manager, it's like this is why one of the core reasons that Conte left is that we got a whole bunch of different players what he wanted, and Abramovich brought in these guys, he wanted these. At the time he wanted Lukaku, we got Morata. But if he's going to do this and Potter doesn't seem to be having too much of an issue with it, fair enough, and then we go back this guy. But is that part of the issue why he's there? Is he not acquired that? He's still a new young manager after all. Does he want someone who's a bit more moldable? Tuchel was a lot of things. He wasn't moldable. He didn't need to prove his success. He already had success. I don't know. I just question how much input he's having in. If we're truly to get behind this manager, how much involvement he's having in certain transfers. He's not paying 100 million for certain players.
I feel that he needs to have 100% control of the players he wants to bring in. If he wants to bring in, say, if he wants to bring back Lamptey, if he wants to bring in like McAllister from Brighton, if he wants to bring players like that.
Anyone really, yeah.
Good players. He has to, he's the manager. He's the one that coaches the players every day and coaches them. So he needs to bring the right players that he wants, not what the club wants to bring in. Because at the end of the day, if the results go bad and they end up sacking him, he can say they were my players, not the other way around where the club brings in players telling me how to work around.
Yeah, we'll bring Markus in real quick and then we'll wrap up.
The main reason I want to jump in, Matthew, I love you, but like all this Chelsea talk is killing me. So the thing with Chelsea is you can't change a culture in 5 seconds, and they're used to spending £80 million on a player. They're still going to want to spend £80 million on a player. That's why they're linked with Enzo Fernandez. That's why the game goes the way it goes. But Chelsea are not going to finish top 4 this season without a miracle. So going back to the two teams that actually probably could in last night's game, I just want to put a couple of things to the Arsenal boys, because I think there was a few things that were interesting about last night's game that might be worth you just kind of having some reflection on to wrap up. So first thing is Mikel Arteta seemed rattled at the end of that game. Like, he was so mad. Like, it was beyond belief how angry he was in that press conference. And it kind of reminded me of Rafa Benitez when Liverpool and Man United were in the title race back in 2009. And Fergie just got under his skin. And Arteta, I don't think, likes the way Newcastle played, and obviously felt hard done by with the penalty situation. But dude, we're 18 games into the season. Like, you need to cool down. Like, you're 8 points clear at the top of the Premier League. And I think what that highlighted to me is I'm not sure he's ready for a title race from a manager's perspective. I think he's very much feeling the pressure very, very early into this season, and everything's gone well for you guys so far. I 100% agree with you that him not bringing our substitutes was a message. He wants Murdoch, wants another attacking player, and I think Arsenal need 2 attacking players if they're going to win the title. They need to replace Jesus, and they need an attacking, creative winger. But I think it's interesting that you've got Man City coming up in your next couple of weeks as well. That's going to be a very big game. It'll be interesting to see how Arteta deals with that. And I'm not sure whether he's got what it takes from a manager's perspective to be able to handle the high level of pressure that comes with a title race. And I do think Gabriel Jesus being missing is going to be tricky too. So I put that to you guys just saying, like, obviously you're 8 points clear, things are going really well. You're definitely most likely going to finish top 4, which is progress. But what are your thoughts on the additions that are needed and the kind of rattledness of Arteta after last night's game?
I think so. On the positions wise, I mean, I think for me it's pretty clear that we need to bring in. I mean, what's interesting? Beginning of the season, Arteta said, "I want a squad of 25 players." He was very clear that's what he wanted. We currently have a squad of 22. If you don't count the youth players we draft up, we have 22 players. We're short 3. So we've been short 3 since the summer. We always wanted a midfield cover. We wanted that. You could either argue a Partey cover or a Xhaka replacement, whatever. Midfielder was needed anyway. A winger to give the young G's on the wings a rest, and something else up front was a maybe. The striker was a maybe thing. It wasn't really a requirement, but definitely those 2 wide position players, 2 other positions were needed. So I think now that doesn't change. And if anything, I think the whole talk of Chelsea might move into Mudryk. Like, this is Todd Bowley. He plays champion. Listen, everything he does, all his transfers are done off Twitter. Who's linked to Chelsea today? No, who's linked to Liverpool today? Who's linked to Man United today? Okay, we're gonna go buy them. No thought process, ridiculous. He'll come to Arsenal. They'll sort it out. That is just a Shakhtar want a certain amount of money up front. They'll figure it out. Not worried about that. The João Felix links are quite interesting because I think it doesn't hamper what we've got of Nketiah and Jesus as a short-term deal. It also gives us possibility of looking at, like, someone longer term. Like, I don't know, they've mentioned Vlahovic. I don't know if I would want to have him again. But it does give us the option to look at something different as a forward option. In terms of the Arteta's reaction, me personally, I don't mind it because I like that it's taking away from the team's performance. Now, it might look to some people like he's a bit unrattled, unhinged. I watched All or Nothing. He's done worse. So to me, he was just like, it's par for the course. What did he say? June, I get upset. Like, that's his reaction. I think he was more frustrated with the fact that you have VAR. How have you not seen that shirt pull? The handball one, we can argue that till kingdom come. We've seen some games that they've been given, we've seen some games they're not given. That's neither here nor there. The shirt pull one is the most egregious one because, bruv, you couldn't even see that. You couldn't see the Arsenal badge. You couldn't see Fly Emirates. It was gone. If Gabriel was a bit smarter, he could have taken his shirt off. But how is that not reviewed? How is that not even a go check the screen? And then
I understand. I understand the frustration. I think the only thing that I will say on this, and it's one thing that I've realized with champions and being in that position of fighting for titles, is that if you need to rely on a VAR decision to win a game at home to Newcastle, then that's a problem. The reality is you should be putting the ball in the net 4 times and not having to worry about that. And, actually you touched on it at the beginning when you said we should have been 6-0 up in the first 15 minutes, but we didn't take our chances. And I think that's the reality of where the rubber hits the road with this stuff, is that at the end of the day, champions win games. But nonetheless, you got the point against a team that's not conceded a goal in 9 games. You've got Man City coming up, big game again. You go again, you're still in pole position. And who'd have thought we'd have been sat here in January saying Arsenal favourites for the title? But that's what we're saying.
Yeah, and I think for me, it's just one game, so I'm not overly worried. I think there's enough signs from how we've played, and also the thing that's really key is that we didn't change our way of playing yesterday. We could have tried long ball football. We could have switched it up. We just played our same football and we're consistent with it. So I think that's kind of the more defining moment, that irrespective of the opposition we faced and the challenges we've had in that match, we played the same way, but for the lack of rotation options. Now that is a concern, not using the bench. Maybe we need to look into definitely getting those players in as a high priority, but I think there's a lot to be thankful with. Last thing, as we close, for you, Matthew, what's one thing you're hoping for from Chelsea this summer? This summer window is in January. I know it's not summertime. It feels like it's summer in Africa, though. If you're in Ghana, big up.
Hey, that we go beyond scoring just one goal and sitting, because that game on New Year's Day bothered me so much because it was there for the taking. Games don't last 20 minutes. They don't even last, even against Bournemouth, they don't last 35 minutes. They last 90. It was just real, and we got away with it with Bournemouth because they weren't very good, but we didn't get away with it against Forest. And they realised, it didn't take long for them to realise second half we can actually come and get these guys. It was worse than the fact that Serge Aurier scored as well, which I'm still not quite over. Didn't even know he's in the blooming team. Yeah, just play beyond. I know we're not at our best, but above all, play beyond that 90 minutes. When you get that goal, keep going. Go for another one. Kill off the game as early as you can. 2, 3, 4, whatever it is you got to do. Put Reece James in ice. Put him in protective gear. Put him in Iron Man suit. Protect this man. We're so much more threatening with him, alongside with him and Raheem Sterling. Really does bring out his strengths. And just, I think, look, a fan brought it up earlier today, and I think I do agree with him. We've been a cup team for a very long time. Let's see out the season doing so. We're still in certain cups, Champions League, FA Cup. Push like crazy. Because if we win one of those, we're back in the European fold, which hopefully by then we'll be slightly better prepared, and we've got rid of, let go of players that maybe aren't along for the slog that's ahead of them for the next one, maybe even 1.5, 2 seasons. So those are things I'd like to see.
And for you, Craig, what are you hopeful for Arsenal this January?
Get 3 players in, win all our games.
3
players.
Vicious.
Continue to climb up the table. Do well in January, February. Have a good result against Man City. Don't lose to them. Just continue winning and win the league.
And Marcus,
hopefully.
To wrap it up, what are you hopeful for Liverpool this January?
A midfielder. And hopefully, being able to get to the point where we can seem like we control games again would be nice. 80% win record in January, I'll take it. Not losing to Nottingham Forest or Leeds or Bournemouth.
Yeah, just what I'm hoping for from you guys, just when you play City, do the business on them. That's it. Chelsea, you know what to do.
What?
You know what to do.
No pressure. No pressure. And for me, I just want Arsenal to just keep doing what we've been doing all season. Bring in 2 players, bring them in. Let's carry on this run. Let's get Smith Rowe and Nelson back fit, and let's really start to push now. This year has come as a surprise. I don't think anyone expected Arsenal to be anywhere near the top of the table in this way. I think top 4 was the target. We're well exceeding that expectation. Let's not fall back to our minimum. Like let's just exceed it. If we're gonna win the league, let's win it. Like let's not fall back and take 4th and be like we've made progress. To me, it would be progression from previous seasons, but from how the season has panned out, it would be another failure. Now, people might say that's a bit harsh, but I think it still would be a failure. Even if it's not your target, if you're doing more than your target, like last season was a failure, even though we progressed. So I want to see us really press home and take advantage of the situation. But that's us wrapping up for now. Thank you all for listening. Let us know your thoughts. Do you feel like Liverpool are going to bring it all together? Do you feel like Tottenham are doomed and should just fold as a club? And do you feel like Chelsea will turn it around or not? That's us signing out till next time. Peace and have a happy new year.
Happy New Year,
everyone.
Don't catch no viruses.
Happy New Year.